Shalom, shalom. Just wanted to hop on real quick and give you some quick information about Kiddush. I had a question about Kiddush. Me and my family, every Friday evening, we say Kiddush, we share a meal, conversate. It's a beautiful time. And then also at the end of Shabbat, we do Havdalah. Just some, we do things traditionally. So Kiddush, sanctification, is the prayer recited over a cup of wine to consecrate the Shabbat or festivals in accordance with the biblical commandment to remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Exodus 20, chapter 20, verse 8. When first instituted by Ezra and the men of the Great Assembly, the Kiddush was not an independent ritual, but a part of the Amidah. I would suggest, if you have time, study the Amidah, study the Siddur. There's a lot of Siddurs out there that have a lot of good information in there, especially when it comes to the feasts and festivals, where it still remains in the middle blessing for Friday evening. Later, when the impoverished Jewish community became wealthier and wine was readily available, the rabbis decreed that the Kiddush also should be recited over a cup of wine. This symbol of joy and celebration was considered most appropriate for the Shabbat and festivals. The use of wine in this ceremony may have related to the sacrificial ritual in the temple. There are lots of temple elements at the Sabbath table. For the Talmud notes that Kiddush may be recited only over wine that is fit to be brought as a drink offering on the altar. The rabbis debated whether the Kiddush over wine should be recited in the synagogue or the home. The decision was that Kiddush should be said at the table just before sitting down to eat the Sabbath dinner. Rashbam maintained that this was based on the verse, and you shall call the Sabbath a delight, Isaiah 58:13, explaining that where there is delight, i.e., a festive meal, there shall you recite the Kiddush. However, because the synagogues of Babylonia had annexes that served as community hostels and provided food and lodging for travelers, it became customary to also recite the Kiddush in the synagogue at the end of the Friday evening service. According to Kol Bo, the tradition, which persists among Ashkenazim, was established for the sake of those who cannot read Hebrew. If they hear the Kiddush enough in the synagogue, they eventually will learn how to recite it correctly at home. I also believe that was a prevailing thought in Acts chapter 15 when it was talking about the principles that they wanted Gentiles to observe, but Moses was being read every Shabbat. I believe they wanted them to continue at the synagogue to continue to learn Torah and its application. In addition to the principal evening Kiddush, the rabbis mandated that a minor Kiddush be recited before the noon meal on the Sabbath or festival, although termed the Great Kiddush. That's, if you're wondering, that's Pesachim 106a. It is essentially the customary blessing over wine. Some include an appropriate scriptorial verse before the blessing. For the Sabbath, one says, therefore, the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it, Exodus 20:11. For festivals, the additional verse is, so Moshe Rabbenu, declared to the Israelites the set times of the Lord, Leviticus 23:44. Some further enhance the stature of the great Kiddush by adding the prayer, Ve Shemru, and they shall keep the Sabbath, Exodus 31:16-17, a passage in which the Sabbath is labeled an everlasting sign between God and the children of Israel. Strong drink other than wine may be used for this Kiddush, for which the word great may originally have referred to the amount of drink rather than the length of the prayer. In modern times, the Saturday morning Kiddush has assumed new importance, sponsored by the entire congregation or by specific members to celebrate a special event in their lives. It also serves as a communal social hour. Now, it's not a debate or argument about when the Sabbath starts, sunrise or sunset. That's not the argument there, and that's not an argument that we even get into either. We do what we do, you do what you do. Hallelujah. Text. So the Friday evening Kiddush begins with the introductory paragraph. Vayechulu ha-shamayim, describing the seventh day of creation, Genesis 21:3. This is preceded by the words Yom HaShishi, the sixth day. The last two words of the preceding Bible verse, Genesis 1:31, so that the first four letters spell out Yod He Vav He, the tetragrammaton. The blessing over wine. Let me back up. So in Genesis 2, 1 and 3, the first verse that was read is Genesis 1:31 in the Kiddush. So right here, I'm just going to skip to the end. I'm not going to read the whole thing for you, but we have, I believe we're starting Meod Vayihi Arev Vayihi Voker Yom HaShishi. So we have the Yod, we have the Hey, then here we have Veyi Kulu, we have the Vav, Hashamayim, Vehaaretz, Vechol. So right in here. So Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey is what they're saying in these first letters spell out the tetragrammaton. The blessing over wine, Bore Pari Hagafen, is then recited, followed by the blessing for the sanctification of the day, concluding with praised are you, O Lord, who hallows the Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai. The core of this longer blessing refers to both the creation of the world and the exodus from Egypt. This double memorial is in accordance with the variant text of the commandment in Exodus 20:11 and Deuteronomy 5:15. On festivals falling on weekdays, the introductory scriptural passage is omitted. All that is recited are the blessings over wine and for the sanctification of the day which ends, who hallows Israel in the festive seasons. On all festivals except the last days of Passover, one recites the Shechinahu. Yeah, Shechiyanu. Blessing, thanking God for having kept us in life, sustained us, and enabled us to reach this season. When a festival immediately follows the Shabbat, a special benediction marking the termination of the Shabbat, Havdalah, is added. I just wanted to share that information about Kiddush and sanctification. Shalom, shalom.